It's definitely very professional, Valanda. I don't know what you're talking about. Everyone can hear me defend myself as I say that was the most professional thing that anyone has ever seen.
Well, professionally covered anyway.
Exactly. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Couch for It. We are going to talk about episode 3 of Altered Carbon.
Yes.
It has
I
been a
hope so,
very
because that's
long.
what I watched.
That's that's a good thing. I am Drew Tillman, and I am joined by my other host.
I'm Valanda. I sit on the other end of this ginormous blue transatlantic couch.
There's a lot of room between us. It's feeling very cold and distant, Valanda.
Oh, I'm sorry. One day next year, maybe I'll come out, or maybe you can come to me for a change.
That would be cool. I actually would love to do that.
I have a couch. It is genuinely ginormous.
That
It's
could
like
work.
half the front room is our sofa.
Yeah, that's the appropriate size couch, really.
Yeah, it is.
A
Yeah.
couch should be gigantic and comfortable.
Yeah, there are 5 grown adults that you could like literally lay out and sleep on this sofa, and it's that comfy.
Oh, that is a big couch.
It's a huge couch. So.
I am impressed and very happy about that.
Awesome.
Ugh.
But on the flip side of that,
On the
we
flip
did
side.
we the reason you bestowed my couch is so we could do something dumb like this.
Yes.
So episode 3 of Altered Carbon. Now you're drinking. First thoughts.
I knew that was going to happen as soon as I picked that cup up. So first thoughts are, man, rich people suck in this.
Oh yeah, rich
Like-
people are dicks.
That's my first impression of this whole episode is, all these rich people suck and they're stupid. What about you? What are your first impressions?
I can't. Like this is like I must have seen bits of this over my housemate's shoulder because I vaguely remember bits of this, and the bit that stuck out to me is just still the main impression that I have from this episode. That fucking married couple, man.
Yeah.
God damn, that married
Yeah.
couple and those kids. That was my overall initial thoughts on this.
Ugh.
Was I like this episode, but god damn that couple.
That couple is a fucking mess and a half is what that couple is.
Yeah, like this episode definitely shows marriages are weird.
That's one word for it.
Coming from a married woman, marriages are fucking weird.
Yeah.
This show
alright.
definitely epitomizes how weird this shit is.
Oh, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Well, shall we dive into the whole thing then? Spoilers and all, just what everyone actually comes here to see. Us
Is
talk
us
about
spoiled.
spoilers and me slowly devolve into insanity every episode.
Yes. You say slowly, I say we're already there.
Okay, well, you know what? It's I got hit in the head a lot at some point. I don't know.
All right, so we start out on another one of these like bizarre montagey things at the beginning of the episode. I remember it was blue, and I don't actually remember what the rest of it is, but it talks about
Okay,
travelers and lonely spaces and how we take our problems with us. It doesn't matter what we come across.
Okay, yes, it was blue, and Kovacs is saying like seafarers of old, people explored limitless space and spread across the stars, and then it just I don't remember the actual ending of his whole thing, but it pans down to see 2 children underneath a table with a lantern reading a book.
Yeah, it's Kovacs and his sister Ray
Yes.
as like proper little children.
Yes, and I actually there's 2 things I really like about this scene. One,
Yeah.
Kovacs starts to read this book, and his sister says, "No, tell it our way." And what I like about this is he goes, "Okay," and then she proceeds to tell 90% of the story.
I think their ways of they're supposed to be telling it together, right? I think that's the
That's
theory.
probably what it actually is, but I just feel like he would just be like, "Yeah, this thing," and she would just like go on a whole like it'd be like it's sort of like when you're like, "Oh, let's write a screenplay together," and the other person only contributes and.
and
And
or but and yes if yeah.
but I do like the story because the story is about Mad Mikolos, who makes his children work in his mill because he doesn't want to work in his mill. And one day they pass out, so he murders them because why not? Then he goes, "You know
That
what?
was dumb.
That was very dumb. I need children to run my mill." So he goes to the village, steals a bunch of children, kills said children, sews them into a Frankenstein monster.
Yep.
And the quote is something huge and strong And I just want to say, if I was making something huge and strong, I would not choose children.
No.
They are pretty much universally small and weak.
Oh, Drew's just coming out making a bold statement there.
Unpopular opinion, children are small and weak.
But let's go from like a engineering structural point of view here, shall we? Yes, I did it this week. Fuck yeah. If you break things and put them back together, they're never as strong
Also that.
as the original is. So by breaking these children apart, he just made one structurally unsound like entity when he could have in fact had a series of small children doing all the tasks.
You know what? Yeah.
With many hands make light work, and he made one monstrosity which is potentially going to fall apart. And oh shit, would you look at that? The thing is big and strong, but rips his head off. I think
immediately kills him. Yes,
immediately kills him, and then has to continue to replace the parts that are falling off. Like structurally engineering, that's a dumb idea.
Why not just chain the children up into your mill and make them work that way?
Exactly.
That
would be.
Why do what you did? Anyway, it's a weird fairy tale told by children. But the second thing I really like about this scene is that the music in the background, and I don't know for certain, but it really sounds like the music has some vocal parts in it that are saying Patchwork Man, which is what they call the monster in their story.
Really?
And
I totally missed that.
It's not upfront. There's just like really soft, and it sounds like vocalizing, but I swear they're saying Patchwork Man and then something following it, but I couldn't understand it.
Oh wow! I'm going to have to go back and re-listen. I'm going to put my notes. I need to re-listen to because I'm always filled with wonder when people slip stuff like into music and you don't realize it's there. I'm always a big fan of that, so I need to go check that out. That sounds awesome.
It was very good. I liked it a lot. But after, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, once they do like the reading of the story, and then like the patchwork kid goes around and like steals other kids, and like you have to like cut them up and then like become part of the whole of the new thing. Biggie stories to tell children. We then hear a sound at the door, and the kids go running into the closet. I'm like, oh boy, this is yep. And we proceed to hear this man talking about how they're so lucky to have gotten off-world.
Yes, they're on a new world.
And go live in this new cool place, and how the woman should be happy and excited and wonderful. And then we cut out the closet and we see, oh yeah, yep, never faced the, yep. We have domestic abuse, and we hear lots of hitting and punching and slapping and crying. Kids turn to each other in this closet and go, never face the monsters alone. Like, that's what this entire episode is going to be about. Awesome.
Yes. And this whole episode's about teamwork and all that other, being together and building a group. And it's very well done because they have the nice little foreshadowing, and then the theme carries through very well. Because after this scene, it jumps to Kovac in the shower, and then he's out of the shower, and Poe appears, because Poe always appears. He's one of those characters that just shows up at weird times. Yeah, he's like, "What's up?" And he says, "Oh, you have an invite. It arrived at dawn, and I didn't think you'd want it in the shower, so here you go."
Oh yeah, and FYI, the woman you were banging last night. Oh yeah, somebody saw that. Someone, crude terms, hacked me.
Someone got a spy bot inside my perimeter.
Yep.
And then, which I also like this because as he's standing there talking, and he's just like, "I don't want to do this thing," blah blah blah, or whatever he's talking about. He gets a phone call from Lawrence, and Lawrence is like, "I sent you an invite a few hours ago. Why haven't you responded?" Like, chill, dude.
It's like it's chill, man. And he goes on to explain that they're about to have this like dinner party thing. And that everyone who's been invited had a reason to kill him.
Yes, Kovac is like, you invited everyone you think that might have murdered you into one room?
He was like, yeah, it's a great idea. Kovac is like, do you realize how dumb this is? You want me to talk to every one of these people? It's like, do you realize how dumb this and dangerous this is? And Kovac is like, yeah, it's all right. Bancroft is like, yeah, it's fine. You'll be there.
Bancroft is the character equivalent of what could go wrong if I do this.
Yeah. And then afterwards, like Kovacs and Poe have a conversation about needing backup.
And Poe can't leave the Raven Hotel because Poe is the Raven Hotel. All of his processors are within the walls of the hotel.
Yeah. So he, as he goes on to explain, he's the brain of the hotel.
Yes.
But they do have an interesting conversation, which is if their information flows, then he can get to it.
Mhm.
So in theory, he can actually travel in his ear, if nothing else.
That's true. He can go anywhere that data is.
Yeah.
But instead of using it that way, Kovacs goes, do you know anything about psychosurgery? And Poe makes a weird face and goes, I am certified now, or whatever.
I'm certified now.
Because that's how computers work in all sci-fi things. They instantly know whatever you need them to know.
My favorite thing about this is because it does the very classic nod to camera thing that happens whenever there is telepathy or there is like some sort of like what's the other telepathy? The thing where you can use telekinesis or computers learning things. Is there's always like a slight tip to the head
Yes.
to indicate that something is going on because they don't actually need to do that. If you don't indicate to the audience that something is happening, they're like, what the fuck is going on? It's one of those tropes that we've grown to accept, and I saw it slightly in here, and I thought it was hilarious.
Yes, and I like Poe's weird face.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
he makes a face. He's like,
yeah, it was pretty good. So he immediately becomes like licensed to do this psychotherapy stuff.
Yep. Because Kovacs has an idea. If he needs a man, he needs a man watching his back. And who did he just meet last episode, Valanda?
I think it was some dude named Elliot.
Some dude named Elliot who was a Marine.
Yeah, and a medic Marine.
I wonder if that guy could be useful and also be coming back in the next scene. Guess what? Yes, he is.
Oh yes, and yes we do. We go off and oh no, the bit straight after this is Ortega.
Oh yeah, it does jump to Ortega. I forgot.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely forgot her in this episode too.
She didn't do a lot in this episode, which is kind of a shame because I really like Ortega throughout this whole series. She just didn't get much screen time this time.
Yeah, she didn't get much screen time, but the thing she did was important. Apart from this scene, really,
they were important.
Where we find out that like that this party that's going on is going to have an extreme organic violence or something. I can't remember exactly the phrasing.
Yeah, extreme organic damage.
That's the one, extreme organic damage. And since she works in organic damage department, they got a permit to allow this fight to go on, and they need someone from the police department to go and keep an eye on it, basically, so that no dodgy shit happens. People don't cross the bounds and stuff. And she's like, "This is dumb. I don't want to go." And her captain's like, "You're gonna fucking go." And she's like, "Oh, okay."
Well, I mean, she's not stupid. She's gonna follow the order of the captain because she needs her job.
Yeah.
It's hard to blame people for doing things to keep their job.
Yeah, and I think there's probably funding involved because of the speed, which it got.
Probably, yeah. She mentions that the permit for organic damage was applied for 2 hours before she showed up, which means that it was approved in 2 hours, and she even comments that it's way too fast.
Yeah, it's like this is not right in any way, shape, or form.
There's obviously some money changing hands.
Yes, and that's the reason they need to do it. So she reluctantly agrees, and I think at that point she begins to like plot her own agenda.
Oh yes, because that's all she plots a lot, which I don't blame her. She has a lot against her. The cops are not helpful. All the meths are rich and just like throw money at problems, and they're all assholes. So
Oh yeah. So we go back to Elliot. There's a very short scene. Nothing really happened there other than she has to go.
I mean, yeah, that's literally her whole scene.
That is the whole scene. So we go back to Elliot, and like Kovacs just walks in, and it's basically holds a gun to him and says, "Get the fuck out! I'm gonna shoot you." And Kovacs is like, just reaches out, takes the gun from him, and just says, if you want to get violence, don't talk about it, and hands the gun back to him. It's like, or do I need to knock you out again? Like,
I do love the scene where he comes in, and Elliot's just like, I'm gonna fight you again. And he's just like, we already did this, man.
Yeah, it's like, get the fuck away from my daughter. We already did this. I mean, really, don't talk about what you're gonna do. Just do it. Just like he takes the gun and hands it back to him and says, I have a job opportunity for you.
And Elliot doesn't necessarily like that idea because he doesn't want to get paid by Bancroft because Bancroft is an asshole.
And possibly killed his daughter.
Kovacs is like, I don't think he did it, but I'll tell you what. If I investigate what happened to Lizzie, and it turns out that Bancroft did do it, I'll give you the gun and let you shoot him.
Yeah. And he's like, all right. All right,
he also offers psychosurgery for Lizzie.
Yes.
Which I do like the kind of the play here of Elliot being like, well, I can't afford that, And Kovacs is like, well, I'll pay for it because of Bancroft. And then Elliot's like, you don't care about Lizzie. And he's like, I don't care about anybody. Like, fuck all y'all. Like,
Yeah,
I just need to do
I
a
like
thing.
that real honesty bit there. Like he literally just like stops a minute, just like leans on like the counter, I think it is, and just looks at him and is like, don't take this personally. I don't care about anyone. I will help her if it helps me.
Exactly. Like, it's a very just like, honestly, like, I will help her because it gets me what I want.
Exactly.
So, I don't really care.
Yeah, it's like you do what you want. You're gonna help me or not, but I can offer this, so let's do it. And then the only note I have here is Poe is amazing.
Poe is beautiful.
He's a beautiful.
I would stay in an
beautiful
AI hotel
I would.
without hesitation, honestly.
Also, it's based on Edgar Allan Poe. The entire thing looks like it looks like the Raven poem come to life.
Mm-hmm.
I would be in that place quicker than you could say. But this place, he's just so good in this scene. So they go in and they speak to Poe, and Poe appears behind them. And they have this like this cute little conversation, which is like, I am his partner. No. I'm his esteemed colleague.
No.
No. I'm the proprietor of the hotel. He's an AI. What? It's amazing. Like, Poe just gets continually smashed down, and like he's just like, no, it's fine. I'll take it.
Listen, he's not Kovac's partner. He's not his colleague. He's a hotel that Kovac happens to stay inside of.
Yeah. But still, I feel sorry for Poe. But
Yeah.
he's amazing. He flits around all over the place. Behind them, just basically showing off that he is an AI. And eventually works up being, he says, look, give me your daughter's stack and I will do what I can for her. Because you can't.
Yeah, every time you spin her up, she gets worse. And she's going to need like actual surgery therapy by a professional.
Yeah, and I am certified for that now. And it goes on to explain she will have a VR suite of her own that he will look after and deal with her. And then there's a very interesting thing which sparks up like a whole thing in my brain. Of at the point when Elliot goes to hand over his daughter, or just before it, he goes on to tell this story of how when they're in the military, if a guy dies or is severely injured, so if they were severely injured and need to be carried, if they were too heavy to carry, they would just kill the sleeve and take out the stack and move on.
Yeah.
And he was like, sometimes you have to be burned to carry a body, so here, just have the stack. And that led to like a really interesting thought in my brain. It's like warfare would be so different in this place.
It really would.
Take out, like, because you would have the experience of soldiers who have actually fucked up and managed to survive, so they would learn something from it. And the fact that you could just keep re-sleeving people if they were, worth the effort.
Which I think is why the envoys are supposed to be so dangerous, is that they keep dying and basically being re-sleeved over and over and over again, so they get really good training, and then they just like keep learning over and over and over. They can make a mistake, but as long as their stack gets taken away, they come back and they've learned from their mistake.
Yeah, terrifyingly dangerous. But for me, it's the idea that warfare would have to be so smart now, because you can't just rely on numbers. You can't just rely on outlasting someone. Like starving a group of people to death would be utterly pointless. Like, there would be no point to doing that. Like, warfare would have to be so smart in the future to like allow wars to really happen and do a thing.
Yeah, you'd have to kill like basically everyone in a single group real quick.
Yeah.
So then you could take their stacks and like destroy them or whatever.
It's just very, very weird, but very, very cool. It was just a thing that sparked in my brain that time. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So Poe takes a stack and he sods off to Virtual World.
That's what he does, yeah.
So then we go back to the police department where we have
Ortega.
Thank you, Ortega and her partner. They have the weirdest relationship.
They really do. It's weird because he's kind of like a older brother, dad, uncle kind of figure.
Yeah.
Because he's a little bit older than her, and I think he worked with her dad, I think is what he says.
Yeah, he did, yeah. He was I think it's her dad's partner.
Yeah, he said he'd watch after her.
Look after her, yeah. So they just have a very kind of like weird mentor-y type relationship, but rather than being like a good mentor, a coach, he's terrible.
Oh, he's not good at it.
Constantly full of doubt and like, you shouldn't do this. This is not a good idea. Stop looking into a thing that's not yours. And she goes on to talk about the woman that she has the stack from.
Mary Lou Henchy is her name.
Mary Lou Henchy, the one that fell from the sky. And her partner's like, yeah, they got the body. The case is closed. There's nothing you can do, and it's not your case. And she's like, yeah, but how often do we get the chance to talk to a bunch of mess? We're always stonewalled. So I'm going to go in there and you're going to do a bunch of scanning while I'm in there because I'm there. And he's like, fuck no. And she's like, come on.
You're gonna do it because I said so, and you like me so much.
Exactly. It's just a very funny, just like weird little bit there. Just like between them, I noticed it before, but I didn't really think too much of it. But this scene, it really comes out in how much of like a bad mentor, like older brother, uncle figure that he is. It's just like, yeah, it's just terrible. This just goes further to show that she's getting no support from anywhere. And then after that, I believe they go and see like the reason that you named this episode what you did.
Yeah, it jumps back to Kovac and Elliot, because Elliot says he's got a guy who can get them guns. And they're wandering around in this, again, the Blade Runner 40k hive level of where there's just people everywhere. And they approach this man selling candy to children. And Kovac is like, what the fuck? I said weapons, not malted milk balls. And Elliot's just like, don't worry about it. And
Actually, hang on. I think my favorite things when we turn up, we see this guy selling this thing to this kid, and I think he's saying like the actual fruit content.
That's what I was gonna say, because
less than 1%.
Yeah, he's like 0.01 or 0.03% of actual fruit, which, oh my god, your guys' life is so bad.
Yeah. Like nutritional paste has got to be a thing here, right?
It's just gotta be. Like all the people who are really poor in this world have to eat just basically like gray nutrition goo. Like they've got to eat just like trash basically, because all the meths are hoarding all the real food like pieces of shit.
Yeah, pieces of shit that they are.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll find out why we just keep calling them this, because holy shit, when we get to this party, holy crap. So yeah, he's just like, I need some real weapons. This guy does not sell weapons. We need hardware to go into a place where I think someone is going to try and kill me because, oh, oops, I banged like the dude's wife.
I need guns, man.
I need hardware, and you look like you're a guy who knows a guy. So they go to like the malted milk ball guy, and oh god, and I love the little interaction between malted milk ball guy and Elliot, which is along the lines of, can we do a credit check? Go fuck yourself.
Like, no, I've already run your credit. It's trash. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, to which Kovac quietly just touches the credit machine.
Yep.
It's the weird, but it runs and it's like, oh, credit line approved, beryllium level.
And from everyone's reactions, I think we're supposed to think that that's a really good credit level.
You know, I've got to assume beryllium level is just an amazing credit line, because everyone's like, ooh. Elliot actually says, that's right, beryllium, bitch. And it's like, well, I guess that's a really good amount of credit or something.
I think my favorite thing from this is like he himself may not know what beryllium level means. It just means a lot of money.
Exactly.
So when he sees everyone else reacting like, oh yeah, bitch, I got money this time, he's just like, I'm just going to join in because this seems like fun.
This is how it goes.
So this is how we rock this now.
Candyman, who you find out is wearing what looks like Cookie Monster's lower half, takes them to a storage shed, opens up a thing, and is like, ooh, how about these classics? And Elliot's like, no.
How about these cookies on the wall?
And Elliot's like,
he even has a cookie jar.
He does. He really does.
Oh,
listen, it's not my fault he's dressed like Cookie Monster's lower half, okay? He just is.
Oh my god.
I didn't make his pants.
So yeah, he goes to like this hidden compartment on the wall. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, no, fuck off, man. This is some real stuff.
My favorite thing is Elliot's like, if I wanted cheap and legal, I'd go to Huge Mart, not you. Show me the real stuff.
Yeah.
Which is great, because that implies that, yeah, you can still go to, you know, a Walmart equivalent and just buy... And the guns in the hidden compartment are insane-looking guns. Like...
Oh, I have noticed, like, this is some futuristic sci-fi crap right there.
They really are. They're big and bulky and scary-looking. They look like every gun in Fifth Element. Yeah.
And they look like the kind of guns that I would expect, like, playing around, like a bolt pistol. Like, seriously, like, holy fuck, these things are good.
But then, like, apparently that's cheap and legal. And I'm like, wait, what? So he opens an ice cream cart that's in the room and pulls out this... I forgot what he calls it, but it's basically a flechette gun.
Yeah, flechette gun. And it has, like, 2 barrels.
It's got 2 barrels, yeah.
two barrels on it. So they're just like, what the fuck is that? And he basically turns the gun onto where Elliot is standing and pulls the trigger, which I thought was like just such the ballsiest move. I mean, he obviously doesn't know that there's an void there, but it's like a ballsy move to turn around and shoot one of the guys that are trying to buy a bunch of guns from you. Anyway, Elliot of course ducks out of the way because that'd be a shitty ending for a character.
That would have been such a weird ending.
Yeah, at this moment I can respect the plot armor here.
Agreed, yeah.
So he ducks down and he shoots into the wall. And at this point, obviously, like Kovacs is like, fuck this, and pulls a gun and puts it to the other guy's throat. And he's like, oh, you guys are so cute together, which I thought was adorable. He's obviously aware that his life is in danger because Kovacs has pulled a gun out on him and was holding it to his throat. But he's like, no, just trust me. Stay down as Elliot tries to get up. And he clicks another button on it. And like the thing flies out the wall back into the garden and self-floats. I'm like, oh, and then he goes on to give like the greatest like exposition of like why this thing happens. I'm just like, oh, this is sci-fi.
It's such a good sci-fi gun. It's like when you hear it's like, oh, a 10-round mag, and I'm like, oh, that's useful, but like you're gonna run out of rounds really fast. No, you're not. They just come back to the gun.
Yeah, and he's like, you could have like shish kebabed me like twice. It's like, yes, you could have. That's amazing.
So then Kovacs is like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to take that. That's a crazy gun. I love it.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh, that's a cool gun that you have, Kovacs. Doesn't call him Kovacs. I'm trying to keep the sentence clear.
Yeah.
Can I see it? And the guy's like, oh, this is really cool. Where'd you get it? And Kovacs is like, from a guy who doesn't need it anymore. And he's just like,
okay.
That's clearly not my business. Please take your gun back.
Yeah, take your gun back, sir. I will, take your gun back. This is just like this entire scene, like if we just had this scene and like as an example of what sci-fi is, I would put this one forward because it's so fucking good. Like the explanation of how it works, it's just good. Everything in it looks
100%.
sci-fi-ish and still looks recognizable enough. And it's just like
and you also get that thing of it's grounded enough that you as a person outside of the universe can be like, that is a gun.
Yep.
But it's got crazy sci-fi nonsense attached to it in the way of it's like, oh, you reverse the polarity and the flechette flies back into the gun and it's totally fine. Like, okay, I'll buy it.
I'll buy that shit. Holy crap.
And then, like, when they see the knife, he's like, ooh, this knife, it looks like this, and it's got Reaper on it. And you're like, what? Yeah, if you stab them, they go, it's a psychoactive drug. And it's like, okay, that's a dumb thing to have, but sure.
My favorite thing on the knife, because the knife is like this a very small little blade, basically. And it's like it's black and with silver edges, and it's got like a red line like down the blood run down the center of it. I don't know what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it.
The runnel.
And it's red. And he's like, the more you stab someone, the more the drug they get. Like, this is incredible.
It's such a weird weapon, but it's definitely something I could see getting in like, I don't know, a sci-fi video game where it's like, use this knife for up close combat. Like, you get a literal version of it in one of the Assassin's Creed games.
Oh boy.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's so good. Like this whole thing is just so good.
And then Elliot gets a gun, and he's like, oh, classics don't go wrong. And we get a neat little semi-flashback of Kel Christ Falconer being like, there's a weakness to weapons, and then it cuts to a scene of the woman we know as Kel Christ just beating the fuck out of Kovacs and some other dude, like, flipping around and disarming them, and then she like has a gun to Kovacs' head and catches a knife out of the air. I don't know. It's a weird partial scene, and it's so cool.
Yeah, like the only thing I have about it is that it was so randomly inserted. It felt so forced, like dropped in there. It's like it doesn't really.
It feels forced. The gun is what set it off because the gun is the gun she's holding in that scene. But that it is kind of in a weird spot. I do agree.
Yeah, it kind of it comes completely out of nowhere just to further enforce this like build a pack mentality. But I think there were other points in this episode that could have been dropped in there a little bit better. I do
agree. They definitely could have put it in a better place. The gun was their real main tie thing to that between the two scenes, and it's not an awful tie, but you could have put it somewhere better. You could have put that scene later, or various other places.
Yeah, or had like a slightly shortened version because like her beating the shit out of them was great and awesome, but the whole point of that scene was to basically say, build a pack. We're envoys. Take what is around. Build a pack up, and even though those people may become expendable, We take what is offered, so take it.
Yes, and
Which is great because at that point they pan back and they show like a malted milk ball guy, and we see Elliot, and it's obviously clearly saying that they're his pack now, but they're all expendable in the end. These people can die, and it's totally fine.
And
but like the whole fight there was just basically her fighting against the pack on her own, which is completely contrary from what she's trying to tell them.
Well, what she's telling them in the fight is that weapons are weak. Like just because you have a weapon, it doesn't mean anything. And that's another thing you're getting out of the scene is, yeah, sure, Kovac got hardware. He got a gun and he got a knife, and so did Elliot, but it only gets you so far. Like a weapon isn't your main strength. A weapon is just a tool to use later. Your main strength is getting people who have skills that you can use and exploit to further your goal.
Yeah, it does. It does a nice job of that. It was just very odd with the fight that happened. Because
I kind of agree. I think
another guy, right?
What's up?
There was two of them in that fight. Like, sorry, three of them in that fight. There were two guys and Falcon.
Yeah. I think just a voiceover of her talking about it would have served better than the scene, perhaps. But whatever. That's kind of nitpicking at this point.
However, still a fucking badass in that fight. My God, was she a badass in that fight. And the fact that it panned around that amazing moment where you saw a guy throw a knife at her, and we just see her freeze for a moment, and we're like, what the fuck is going on? She's talking like, what the fuck is going on? And we pan around, she's caught the knife like inches from her face. Like, your body is just a tool. To just use it like a tool. I control it, it doesn't control me. I'm like, holy fuck, that was amazing. And we'll take it.
I think her big thing that she tries to tell them is basically like, don't be afraid of dying because your body doesn't mean anything. As long as your stack gets out, you don't die.
Yeah.
Your body is nothing. Don't worry about dying. Don't let that fear of mortality hold you back. But we go from that scene to you go straight into the party at this point, pretty much, right?
Nah. We cut back to the hotel.
Oh yeah, we do because
he hasn't actually Elliot hasn't officially taken the job or something like this at the point.
Yeah, they're watching that old shitty TV in the lobby.
yeah. We go back to the hotel and Kovacs is pouring a drink. And they get the TV to work and they see what is going on inside the virtual reality suite to a degree. Yeah. And we have again that very cool like pulp kind of like magazine-y type feel to it, where like you look around and things aren't quite the way they're supposed to be. Things are slightly more cartoony than you'd expect, and it's dark and it's gritty, even though there is bright fucking pink everywhere. There are purples everywhere. There's pink and purples, and there are reds and there are oranges and blues, and it's all flickering, and like it really is from some fucked up like comic from like back in the 40s or pulp sort of thing. You get that feeling immediately looking at it. And we see the girl, Lizzie. One day I had it written down. I was looking at it this morning. We have Lizzie and we have Poe, and Poe is humming this weird theme like throughout the whole thing. And eventually, like this bed appears, and she's no longer lying on the ground, and then she appears on the bed, and they just do this little thing of like, "It's okay, you're fine, not anything happened to you." And then she says something very cool, which is, "They took Mummy's soul and took it out through her eyes, and now she's on ice."
Yes.
I'm like, that is an amazing way to describe what happened to her mum, because we found out before that her mum was a hacker, and she'd been basically like had the stack removed, whatever it is, and been put on ice or something.
Yeah, because she got caught.
Yeah, because she got caught, and it was such a wonderful way to explain from like a young person's or if you're bored down to your child essence, but I don't know what the hell's going on. That is an amazing way to put it. She describes the icicles in her mum's hair and everything. It's like that's heartbreaking. I don't know why it's here yet. I have a feeling it's probably something to do with the fact that her mother may or may not be sniffing around. But yeah, I thought it was still cool, and it just looked incredible. Just like the whole scene was just good, even though it was psychedelic and really bright fucking pink.
I also like that Elliot asks what's with all the pink, and she's like, it's Poe's idea of non-threatening. So
it's so good.
And then we go to the party.
Then we go to the party, and I think at this point we stay at the party, right? We don't like flick back or anything.
Hey, Undead Man.
We stay at the party.
Yeah, we pretty much stay at the party because everything else takes place kind of rapidly and just within this enclosed area.
Yeah, I think like the last 20 minutes of this episode are just at the party, and so much like it's packed into this little area.
Yeah,
like the first 20 minutes are literally just setting up this party thing, and I don't think we even quite finished the party. I think there's obviously something still happening afterwards, but it was just like, holy crap, there's so much plugged into this.
So much goes on. I think we should hit the key points basically because it is a lot.
There is so much. I want to talk about what it looks like because holy crap, I have some thoughts.
Go for it.
Like the party split into two. We have the party, and then we have like the reason that Ortaga is there. So at the party, everyone is either in creams or greys or whites, apart from the people who aren't meths. The people who are supposed to stand out from that particular way of life. Like Kovacs is wearing black, Elliot is wearing black, the serving people are wearing black. Ortaga is not wearing any color related at all into that palette.
Nope. She's wearing red, I think.
I think she's wearing brown with orange.
It might be that color. That.
Yeah, she's wearing this kind of like dress thing because she has to dress up because it's a party. And I also believe that the lawyer, her coloring is incredible because like she's trying to become a meth. She literally says to him at one point, "These people are meths. I want to be a meth. I'm going to become a meth, so don't stand in my way," sort of thing. And her coloring is ever so slightly off in this whole palette of like greys and silvers and creams and orangey type things. I say orange is very loosely, is very, very pale. It's just like, it's slightly off-white.
The biggest pops of color on any of the meths are the women around their eyes have like their eyeshadow or like way the fuck on like the sides of their face. And that's like the brightest thing on most of them.
Yeah, that it really is. But they say the lore is only very slightly off, so she's very close. Like literally, like that whole palette, even like the whole room, everything in there is just that color of. It's very bland. It's incredible. Like it looks like ornate and really refined, but if you like sit back and look, it's like that's bland as fuck, man. It's an incredible like choice of what they did there. There's still the blues in there, still that very cold element to it. But it's like, holy crap, this looks incredible. All right, I'm done. I'm done with like clothing cast. Carry on.
You're right though. And again, I do want to say this is how you make a show.
Yes.
The meths, the people who stand out above are wearing white and creams, and they're wearing very quote unquote pure colors of just this like very clean and neat colors, and then everyone else is dressed very starkly different to what they are. These people see themselves as above everything, and everybody else is, human.
I like the idea of the colors they chose, like the whites, the silvers, and the greys, and the cream color stuff. They are literally the colors of the clouds where most of them live. Right, they live above the ground.
They live above the clouds.
And everyone else, like Ortaga, is wearing brown, a literal color of Earth. Or you're wearing blacks, was like the darkness of being under the clouds. Like everything about it. It's just like, oh,
this is how you do. This is how you do everything. This is how you do art direction and set design and everything. It's so good. But we'll kind of plow through this very, very, because I'm going to consider this all one long scene, because even though there's a couple of changes, it's all one big thing. Kovacs arrives, runs into Miriam, who is Mrs. Bancroft, and tells her that, we were being spied on last night. Lauren shows up and says, "Hey, meet me upstairs. I have to talk to you." Kovacs sees Ortega and then follows her for a minute because Ortega shows up. I do want to comment on this scene. She shows up, she's looking around, telling her partner to scan the cars because all you have to do is find one flying in the time period where Mary and she would have been thrown.
Yeah, so we kind of jumped at it a little bit of like the reason that she was interested in the cars is because this girl had to been thrown from something. She can't literally drop from the sky into water. She had to been thrown from something. And
she had
most
to get
of
up
those
there somehow.
Flying cars. So she had to be up there. So it had to be someone.
Yes.
So we just kind of cross-reference where they were flying and where they're doing stuff. So that's basically what he was doing the thing.
And she sees Kovacs, and she's like, "Oh no, Kovacs is here." And her partner's like,
"Oh fuck, right?" Yeah.
Yeah. And her partner's like, "Have a drink," and she's like, "Oh, aren't you? What does she call him?" She says something to him, and he's like, "I'm a Muslim, not a monk. I don't begrudge you. I don't begrudge you infidels a mood enhancer now and then."
That's the one. It's so good.
It's really good. But she goes upstairs to meet the fighters for the extreme organic damage event, which you find out are a married couple who fight to the death. Winner gets an upgraded and you find this out because Kovacs shows up, and Kovacs, as our bridge into the world, learns that the winner gets an upgraded sleeve, the loser gets a downgraded sleeve, and they keep doing it. They basically just fight to the death.
Yeah, and they're like, at that point they're like, just what's going on? And they're like, "Oh yeah, we're married," and like, what the fuck?
And we have kids.
And we have kids, and they're just like, "What?
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?"
Hang a minute. You're gonna go home with all you're gonna go back. Your kids are gonna have strangers walk into their house to be their parents, and oh no, they're used to it by now. Like, how old are your kids? 5 and 7. They're not used to it.
I love the fact Ortega and Kovacs say it together. Yeah, they're just like, they're not used to that.
Yeah, like in tandem, was like, that shit is not normal. That shit not okay. Like, just at all.
And
So fucked up. Like,
Undead
women,
Man
none of
has
these-
been watching. I love it.
yay. It's so fucked up. Just like the whole premise of what they're doing is so fucked up. It's just like, what?
Yeah, and again, sort of what I said on episode 1 of there's rich people in the future and they turn kind of Romanesque because they have gladiatorial fights. Like 100% straight up gladiator fights.
Yep. So they go there and like this shit's wrong and they leave. And then Otaga and
Kovacs have a little conversation.
they have a little conversation, which is basically they're doing the dance of we want to hate fuck so much. Get a ring ready.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And then it ends with basically she straight up says stay out of my way, and he kind of more or less tells her to stay out of his way. It's kind of, but they don't want to be out of each other's way. They want to be in each other's way.
They want to be in each other. That's
so hard.
Honestly, the thing, so hard. Anyway,
so yeah,
we then have a conversation with Bancroft himself.
Which when he goes upstairs and sees this, we see what these people are eating is a fucking tiger that is being cut up, and they're eating off tiny little plates. And it's like, what? Why would you eat a tiger? I bet that doesn't even taste good, first of all. And second of all, what the fuck?
It's a fucking tiger. Which I think leads into the thing that they were talking about either beginning of this or that comes up shortly, which is everyone has to bring something unique. Who the fuck brings a tiger to eat?
Yeah, that's a good question. Who shows up? Who shows up and is like, I have a unique thing. This tiger that I've had my chef's cook. That's what
the fuck?
No.
Genuinely, that's not why. There's no need to eat a tiger. Anyway, decadence, richness. So he goes up and he talks to Bancroft himself, and they talk about the fact that maybe he should have told Kovacs that he likes to kill women at the whorehouse.
Yeah, he likes to go to the whorehouse and fuck people, and murder them. You know, it's something.
Yeah. And there's always that little tension in the scene of does Bancroft know he was fucking his wife last night? And he does a good job of maybe not. I like it. It's good. It's subtle, but it's there. It's so good.
It's really good. You find out you meet Bancroft's son again, kind of from above, as he can't hold his liquor and embarrasses himself.
Yep, he does, and he talks to Kovacs about he doesn't know what he did wrong with that son. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
And then we have this interesting internal monologue, I think it is. And a conversation with Bancroft about the natural order of things. Like, maybe your kid is acting out because you're supposed to be dead and you re-sleeved him too early.
He basically, it kind of hints at it. You actually find out more later, but it kind of hints at the fact that the one thing Lawrence Bancroft won't let his kids do is grow up.
Yeah, he literally says that at one point.
Yeah, like their bodies are cloned and they're basically forced to be the same age all the time.
Yeah.
Like they get to a certain point, and it's just like that's where you're at.
Yeah, and like these, and like he basically he grabs the kid at one point and just slams him against the wall and says, "Wait, how far do you have to go to be like eat a piss on your dad or whatever it is?" And he's like, "I didn't kill my dad. Don't be an asshole." But it's a very interesting conversation that they have about the idea of the natural order of life and death, about God, and about how the fact that the people have replaced God, because the people get to decide when things die out. Which is very interesting because when Kovacs actually goes to talk to some of these people and actually do his job of investigating, he talks to a guy who basically says, "We're stuck with each other now. There's no point being angry at one another." It's like, wow, you don't have to be stuck. You've been alive hundreds of years. There's the natural order of things. The natural order of things that you should have been done.
Yeah, you can just die. You can choose to die at this point.
Yeah, you don't have to keep doing this.
Yeah.
It's this is literally not something you have to do. It's just a very weird kind of that idea, that question of how long should you keep going? Do you have to stop? In theory, you don't have to if you have this stack thing going on. You're constantly backed up and all that shit.
But all the ramifications of not stopping, all the ramifications of always being alive with the same people all the time.
Yeah, it's an interesting it's taking away the positives of death, which is things restart, things grow anew. If for example, Caesar was still alive, we'd be fucked. We'd be well fucked. The world would be very different. Progress may not have carried on because people don't like huge amounts of change.
Exactly.
We like change when we're young and virile, and we can deal with it. When we get older, we don't like change. We need things to be a certain way.
Yeah, we deal with that to a lesser extent in our current world where people don't live hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah, like
Like
we'd be much
it,
stronger now, but
it
we've
would be
operated from.
awful.
Yeah, the idea of being stuck with like the same like,
Which is why
because
everyone
obviously
needs to shy
very.
away from putting people in robot bodies. That's a quick little PSA. Don't let anyone get in a robot body because things will get so much worse.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to be in a robot body. I'm okay being organic. Don't need a robot body. Thank you very much.
But
Correction. There may be parts of the robot body we want to use, but no, I don't want to be in a robot body. I'll make that very, very clear.
quick highlights on some of the unique things we see because they're all terrible.
Oh my god, yeah.
Bancroft brings the last envoy. That's his unique thing.
Which is a huge round of applause.
Someone brings a snake that has a murderer in
And a
it.
rapist in it.
Yeah, like she resleeved a person into a snake, and like, oh, he's broken now. One time I resleeved him into a human just to see what would happen, and he just laid on the ground.
Right on the floor.
Yeah, so like she has that, but because, and I quote, rules don't apply to people like us.
Literally what she says. It's so weird to hear. It's like, yeah, they know they're breaking the law, but because we find out that the law is you can't put a human into a non-human body
Yes.
because that shit's fucked up. And she's like, well, it doesn't apply to us. Like, he should have read the fine print better. But he didn't, and now he's
Yep.
insane and stuck
And
in
now
this.
he's in snake. Now he's a snake. That's also the same person that he has a conversation with. And she's adamant that the person who killed Lawrence has to be found and punished because if they aren't, every meth is in danger.
Yes. It was more flabbergasted that they could have gotten that. Like,
Yes.
oh, I didn't realize that people could kill us. We're so rich and famous. Please don't. It's so ridiculous.
It's
like,
really ridiculous.
whoa.
Other highlights are at one point Ortega's wandering around the party and sees someone who's not on the guest list, calls her partner to look at him like through her Oni, and he's like, "There's no one there," because the guy just vanishes.
Yeah.
Like while Ortega was watching him, he's just gone.
And he's off.
Yeah, so that's a
Very
thing. That's a thing
That's
that's,
a plot-
happening.
that's a-
There's
that's
a
a plot
ghost wandering around.
Maybe that's a plot drop for later.
Yeah. Another thing is Kovacs is walking around and sees Miriam disappear, follows her, finds her having sex with one of the guards, and then he's like, "Oh,
Funniest shit.
you're not Miriam." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "What's my name?" Can't answer. Then you find out it's actually one of the
Naomi,
Bancroft. Yes,
the
Naomi
12th
Bancroft.
daughter.
And he's like, "Why the fuck are you fucking in your mom's sleeve? That's weird."
Yeah, and she's like, my mother's like sleeve is upgraded. Of course, I'm gonna take it for a spin. I'm like, no, you don't. Of course, take your mother's sleeve for a spin. What
that's
the fuck is wrong
what
with
the
you?
fuck is wrong with you people? The rich people in this show are the worst, and I love it.
But on the flip side, her mother isn't using that clone, and they're just sleeves. They are just bodies.
That's
So
the
it
thing.
shouldn't matter that she's using a sleeve. It doesn't matter. It's about, as we were saying before, it's about the person. It's about the stack.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this.
Using the word stack because it's done this. The show has done this, and I've noticed that we've been doing a lot. The show has done this amazing thing where the same happens in Clockwork Orange. If you read it, your brain immediately associates words and replaces them, so they become less poignant. Like drugs become something really soft and fluffy, in Clockwork Orange. In here, we are now replacing the word soul with stack because it's easy for us to deal with. It's very weird. We started doing that, and I noticed it last time. I didn't pick up on it.
It's amazing. It's very well done. And I do agree because the rich people in the show treat bodies like objects. Like they don't matter because the person in the stack is all that matters.
Yeah.
The body is nothing.
So it shouldn't be weird that she's using a sleeve. It just so happens to be her mum's sleeve. It'd be the same as for example, what I did. But if I went and borrowed my mum's shoes, it's no fucking different. It shouldn't be any different.
To the rich people, no. They're just like, whatever. It's an object. It's a piece of property.
And they have this conversation about. To be fair, it raises a lot of questions. Like, obviously, I think we've mentioned this before. Like, obviously, you don't know who's inside the body. You have no fucking clue who is in there.
Yeah. I think the only reason Kovacs knows is because he's an envoy and can read a billion pieces of information at once.
Yes, and obviously having fucked the woman probably knows quite a bit
and
about
he's like, you're definitely not the person you're pretending to be right now.
You're definitely not your mother. Who the fuck are you? And then they have that conversation of, well, your mother's, like the safe where the gun was taken from is bio linked to your father and your mother. So anyone wearing your mother's sleeve could go and use it. It's like, there we go. There's a nice little plot drop for later on, which will either be a red herring or a real thing.
And then it cuts to, after this scene, it cuts to the fight, which I like the fight. The fight is very interesting because...
The fight is 0G, right?
Yeah, it's 0G fighting. Because they show up in
It's
this big
so good.
fucking cage area where all the rich people are hanging around. A
Yeah.
bell rings, and these two husband and wife fighters leap into this zero G area and just start beating the piss out of each other.
It's incredible. They
And
have this
it's
zero Jeeper, and then they go like off the beaten track to like the side where they're standing in front. I believe's in front of Bancroft and his wife,
yes,
and they get
and
super, like,
Kovac is there. Yeah,
visceral. Yeah, and Kovac, and they get super visceral at this point. Like they're like using like the railings and everything, just like beat each other and like curb stomp and all this good shit, and they just beat the snot out of each other. Like one of these women gets sprayed in blood. One of the party goes, and she's like, "Oh, isn't this cool and unique?" And starts like licking the blood off of her hands, like that's fucking gross.
that's
But this is
real
how
gross.
detached they are.
Yeah.
However,
and the dude's definitely about to kill his wife.
yeah.
And
However,
Kovac stops him.
Miriam isn't.
Oh yeah, she's not into it.
She's super not into it. She hasn't made the difference between like this is just a fun sport. She actually has an attachment to this thing. This thing is not okay for her, and it does get pretty visceral and pretty gross. Especially when the guy then, as you said, like goes to like kill his wife, and then Kovac just stops him like, nah, I'm not into this. Nah,
Yeah.
let's not do this.
And then Bancroft, of course, being the asshole that he is like, hey, if you kill him, the last envoy, I'll upgrade you both. It's awesome. So they pull him into the zero G and they start fighting him.
Yeah, and then Ortega's like, "Oh, dude, this isn't on the paperwork.
Like, you can't do this. You didn't have a permit for this." And he's like, fuck you. I'm rich. Let's make it interesting. And he throws some Mall Ninja knife in there.
This stuff is like a three-bladed thing,
It's
right?
a three-bladed knife. And like, what the fuck even is that? You were not fucking, what is that movie? Krull or whatever that's fucking got the stupid throwing knife? Get the fuck out of here.
So freaking weird.
Ugh.
So this knife goes into the arena, and they have this big like tete-a-tete. They have fight like he's fighting the husband, he's fighting the wife, and the wife goes to the knife. And during all this, I think he calls Elliot. And this is just like that little scene with Elliot when he goes off to do like the Elliot thing. Elliot obviously at this party has been acting the part of the waiter, and he's supposed to be having Kovac's six, but he's obviously not there because he's
doing
gone
what he wants to do.
He's like, I'm gonna go do a thing because I haven't adjusted myself. And he goes into like the security guard place, and it's just the coolest conversation. The security guard, like, who's like watching all these monitors, is like, dude, you shouldn't be here. And Elliot's like, let's get wasted on this. And the bloke's like, no, let's not. And he's like, these people don't know what the fuck duty is. And then he drinks one, hoorah. And the other guy's like, yeah, fuck it, we're in. And he drinks. He drinks, and then Elliot just like stabs him with that Reaper blade, and he's like, when you wake up, you can also analgesics and lots of water. That's the only one can be fired.
And then he fucking hacks the computer and steals some shit.
And then fucks my favorite thing, and I keep seeing it because it's so fucking dumb to me, is that fucking backpack, man.
Oh god, it's everywhere.
It's fucking like as soon as this scene sets up, it's like this kind of like blackish grayish area. It's like it looks visibly quite different from everyone else. It's obviously the servants' quarters.
Yes.
And you could just see this bright pink unicorn bag at the side of the thing. It's like, what the fuck is this?
It's there. It's just always there.
It's so good. So Elliot steals a bunch of information. We don't know what at the moment. We know he steals a bunch of information. He picks up this bright pink fucking bag and he walks off with it. And he comes back and they are properly balls deep in this fight. This fight is just it's getting pretty brutal. And Ortega is trying to shut the fight down.
Bancroft won't let her, yeah.
Bancroft just won't. And the guy's like, no, it's been locked in. Like, no, it's just fucking bullshit. It's locked in. Like, he's a technician. You could pull the. Anyway, so with Elliot arriving with the guns in the bag, she now has a convenient excuse to get a gun from the pink bag of fucking awesome. Pulls out the gun and shoots the control panel, and we just see.
Yeah. All three fighters slam into the ground, to which Kovac then, because he has gravity. Oh no, the bullet. Something hits the. Oh yeah, Undead Man's like, I love how he explained it to the guard because he would just get fired. It's a very good scene.
It's one of those, like, it was in the middle of the big fight, and obviously to break the tension a little bit, they threw this little side thing in there, and it was so well done. It was so good. And he clearly shows that kind of like father aspect of like, yeah, it's not your fault, but you're gonna need like you need some water and some painkillers.
Yeah,
you'll be fine.
And don't get fired. Please don't get fired.
Don't get fired. No.
But yeah, something hits the husband fighter in the leg and breaks it, and he's screaming, and the wife's like, "Oh, you've ruined it! Like nobody gets anything now, and
because he's not dead.
Because he's not dead, and I can't afford to fix him because I don't have any money." So Kovac kills him by throwing the Mall Ninja knife at him.
Yep.
And the thing I notice about this that kind of annoys me a little bit, these people are watching these two people beat each other to death, and that's cool. But the second he kills this guy by throwing a knife at him, they're all like, "Oh my god!"
yeah, this like I have a note on this. Like this happens in a really interesting way because as soon as like the gun is pulled out and fired, obviously like the whole program changes. Like the program changes. There's no artificial gravity. The lights aren't moving the way they're supposed to, and it drops. And everything suddenly becomes very industrial and very very cold. So you only actually see and only really can focus on like the three participants and the reactions that everyone else around them because they know that things have changed
Yeah.
rather than being a inverted commas fair fight. They are literally down to the point of the fight is over, nobody has won, so they would consider this an actual kill. Like this is not like fighting for like humor because the fight was over. This is he's broken leg on the ground, the woman is there, like Kovacs is clearly won because he has the weapon and they can't do anything about it, yada yada yada. So the moment he throws the knife is an actual kill, and you can see that reaction on everyone else's faces. It's weird, that strange line between what is entertainment and what is cold-blooded killing in this world.
And it's a very neat thing because it goes from being a game to being fun, from fun games to Kovacs kills this dude without any emotion.
Yeah, nothing.
Like he just like underhands this knife into his chest, just like, well, you're dead now.
Yeah, and then he turns to Bancroft. He's like, I won. So I want them, give my winnings to them, give them both upgraded sleeves, unless you're not going to honor in front of everyone, unless you're not going to honor your arrangement, your word. And he was like, well played, Bancroft.
Which is a nice little dig because like if he doesn't honor it, like he loses face in front of all of these people.
Yep.
And it's great because fuck you, Bancroft, you piece of shit.
Yeah, fuck Bancroft. Yeah,
Bancroft agrees. And that's
I don't give a fuck who kills him now. Honestly, I don't.
Yeah. Then the party's more or less over because, well, the scene is because they are now leaving and he's reprimanding Elliot a little bit like, where were you? You were supposed to watch my back. And Elliot's like, but I got this flimsy piece of plastic.
Yeah, just before that, he actually has a conversation with Bancroft again, right? I think it's like a very small, sketchy one of "Don't fuck my wife."
Oh yeah, he does have a conversation. Yep.
Yeah, my relationship with my wife is very odd. Like I've been married to the same woman for 100 years. Nobody told me. You just understand these things, and I don't begrudge her fucking a thing. But at the same time, she's my thing. Don't fuck my thing.
Yeah, it's
very weird. It's very weird.
Bancroft is
He's a piece of shit. I'm honestly like I'm on board with whoever. Obviously, there's going to be a bigger conspiracy because I think at this point we're not supposed to have any sympathy for Bancroft. Like,
oh no, not at all.
He's made out to be this rich meth head with way too much money. Nobody gives a fuck. We've picked up like now that his kids to a degree probably fucking hate him, but they can't kill him because, as we find out when we talk to the girl fucking in another sleeve, is they get nothing if he dies. Like if he's dead, they get nothing. So it stops them from killing him.
Basically, he has to be alive for them to enjoy all the money and power.
Exactly. So we find this out from her, and obviously we come across the kid who is a handful, which we met. I believe is the same kid that was supposed to pick him up.
Mm-hmm. It is.
He was drunk. And I think I vaguely remember there is a thing with this kid, and I won't spoil it because I think I remember what it is, but other people may not have watched it. It's to say I've seen bits and pieces, and this is one thing I remember. And we find out this kid may potentially be a lead on that. So it's just Bancroft is such a piece of crap. I don't think it matters who kills him. It's whatever conspiracy that's going on around who killed him. I think is going to be the plot.
That's really what it feels like it's shaping up to be. Is it's not about who did this. It's about why and how it happened.
Yeah, and like this may be practice for something else. This may be seeing if they can do it. It may just be, to be fair, it may be lame and actually is just a plot about someone trying to kill this Bancroft dude. But I have no sympathy for him, and this guy can go fuck himself.
Yeah, it's really fucked up.
Yeah. So we go back outside and we have the nice little scene with Elliot, which is just cool.
Yeah. Elliot's like, oh, I have the security footage from when Lizzie died. And I've got this. And then Ortega shows up and gives Kovac his pink backpack.
So dumb.
And she's like, this is yours. And he's like, oh, okay.
And returns the gun.
Yep. He's like, this is yours.
So everything gets returned back to him anyway. And she basically turns around and says, I have better things to do with my time than save your life again. Please try to stay out of trouble for a couple of hours.
Yes.
You're probably being reprimanded by your mother and mine. It's so hilarious.
And then she leaves.
Yep.
And I mean, that's really the end of this episode. Does anything happen? You'll have to remind me because I don't remember anything else.
The end of this episode is like the big thing that leads us into, I assume, the next episode. I hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be a dumb ending. So Kovacs goes back to the brothel where he met, I believe it's Anna or whatever her name is.
Oh, yeah.
he goes back to the brothel because he had an arrangement to see her the next day. And this is obviously the next day. So he goes there at the same time and he taps on the window and he asks for her. And she comes out and she's crying and she's been beaten the shit out of and she looks terrible. And she starts crying and he hugs her and she's like, I'm really sorry they made me do it. And then she injects him with something. And he falls to the ground. And then we see the big dude with the spine implant and some other dude turn up saying, yeah, of course she would do it. I knew she would do it. And then they kill the girl.
Of course.
And then the guy who isn't the guy with the spine implant, basically we assume takes Kovacs somewhere. And we see it in a very hazy, like kind of drug-induced state where he's obviously like partially coming round, where he's strapped to this like gurney, this kind of like trolley thing. And he's been wheeled through a medical facility. So we see a bunch of researchers and a bunch of scientists and a bunch of doctors and stuff. And he goes past reception and she's like, put him in fifth. And he starts to come around. And we see these guys looking down at him. It's like, he will be with us as long as we need him to be. And then he gets properly knocked out. And I did miss one thing. There is when he's on the ground at the brothel, he takes a bracelet off and leaves it on the ground.
Yeah, he takes the bracelet off his hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the
breadcrumbs.
It's breadcrumbs, but that's the other half of his Oni. Like the Oni is the eyepiece and the bracelet. To activate a phone call, you touch the bracelet. Like the bracelet does stuff for you.
Interesting.
It's basically the touch screen of a cell phone.
Okay, fair enough. Right, so he leaves the cell phone behind, but keeps the call going. So he has the eye implant thing going on still. But yeah, so that is pretty much the ending of him getting knocked out. And I like this scene when he's sort of like coming around and he's looking around and seeing all these scientists, because clearly someone who isn't Bancroft is behind this. Like Bancroft had his shot at trying to kill Johan Vai for sleeping with his wife. He's now over that shit because he needs him to find out who the fuck killed or tried to murder him.
Yes.
And behind this scene, from the moment he gets stabbed, I think it is, the moment he gets injected, there is this really cool, like, low rumbling death mourny type song going on. And it's so good. Like, it fits so perfectly with what's going on. It's just that low rumbling sound of, like, someone mourning, somebody in grief, like someone in pain going on. And obviously we can't see him in pain because he's not supposed to be.
Oh, of course not, yes.
Yeah, it's that kind of, like, mournful, like, funeral song. So something big is about to go down. I feel like something horrible is about to happen to Kovacs. I have this horrible feeling.
Yes, I agree. So
and then that's it, yeah.
So
actually, there is one thing that I had noticed in the previous episode, but I didn't notice it in the first one because I don't think I noticed it. At the end of each of the episodes, there's this very kind of weird, like, fiery firefly type effect where it makes a picture or a 3D image.
Yes.
So at the end of the last episode, there were 2 children. At the end of this episode, there is a heart. So I don't know if it's a reflection of what just happened or what's about to come. My personal theory is about to come, because the 2 children were a small boy and a girl, and obviously the next thing we see is a small boy and a girl at the beginning of the next episode. So
don't quote me on this because I have never read anything about it, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to represent the theme of the next episode.
Okay, cool, sweet.
Because it's 2 children, but they're together. The next one is heart. It'll be about emotions and the attachment you feel.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I wasn't just imagining it. That's
it's there.
That's good.
Valanda, how would you rate this episode?
I'm gonna say a 4. It was good. It
was good?
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
You knocked it down from a 5. What took it down?
It's not like a standout 5 for me because I fucking hated the people. They were just... It was horrible and gritty, and I love horror and gritty, but there's just something about this episode. It was like, this episode is really freaking good, but it's not like stand up, holy shit, this is amazing.
No, I agree. Anytime dealing with the Mets is pretty much god-awful because they're fucking terrible.
They're terrible, like, scum human beings.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. This is really good, but it's not like a, holy shit, this is breathtaking, all the plot drops, all of the things happening here. No, we had a good amount of sci-fi in here. Like, the visual effects in this were, again, so good that I think I probably missed half of them. Set design, the plot writing, everything we learned in this episode was so well dropped in. I liked this episode. It was really good, but it wasn't like, holy shit, like the other episode, like the previous one.
Agreed.
And what about you?
Again, I'm rating from a point of view of having seen it before. It's going to be a 5. And I say that because, again...
Set up.
It's all set up. Like, the last 2 episodes are setting up something in such a good way. And having seen it before and watching it now, I'm like, oh my god, the fucking plot thread from the beginning to the end that, like, I'm watching now with a whole new set of eyes is insane. Uh, Although I will, I'll say 4.5 actually, because I agree. Dealing with the meths in large groups is fucking annoying. They are terrible, and granted, they're supposed to be terrible, but it's just exhausting dealing with them because they're fucking awful, and they take up so much of my fucking ability to deal with humans, and they're not even there.
They're not even real people we have to interdeal with, and we're just like, oh, fuck this.
It's just ugh.
Yeah.
Okay,
What
so
about-
I was gonna say you've seen 3 episodes. You haven't rated yet. How would you rate the series so far?
I'm gonna go with 5. Like, I know this one was a 4, but I have such good feelings on this. Like, again, it didn't feel like this is a separate episode. This is Monster of the Week. No, there was a thing they had to deal with, but it didn't feel like Monster of the Week. This is an ongoing story. The whole I've gushed over this so much. All those previous gushes are still there. They are just, it's still well handled, it's still well set up. Everything is still like really, really good. Everything's clearly well thought out. This is what happened. We have people who I at least feel are fucking passionate about what's going on.
Yes.
Like, we have seen like total garbage end of sci-fi of there's no sci-fi, nobody seems to give a fuck. And we go to this where everyone seems to give a fuck. Like everyone, even from the props department up, just gives a fuck about what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
There's no shitty acting in this that I've seen. It's just so good. So yeah, I'm gonna say 5. This is the point where like, yeah, I will keep watching this. I would notice when this stopped. So
Agreed.
actually click the button. What about you?
It's gonna be a 5, and I'm going to point out Lost in Space, we saw one point of interesting design where the people who were against the Robinsons were red. In this one, it's literally dozens of things in every scene are pointing out different things. There's color and set design and all this stuff that's laid out to build specific feelings. It's all very well done.
There's so much symbolism in this, and it's deep. There's so many layers to this. It's deep. Like the themes they like basically not exactly brush past, but the themes they hit on and talk about. It's fucking deep as hell. And if you don't want to pay attention to that, the story is incredible. Like the acting is so good on this. Like the guy that we couldn't name, his Russian accent. He doesn't have a Russian accent. It's believable as a Russian accent or whatever it is. Like the set design is there, the costume design is there, like the lighting, the visual, everything is. I love this. Like there's sci-fi in it too, and that just makes it so. It's just so good.
It's very good. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up because I also have Talking Initiative in 50 minutes now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, sorry. Would you like to do the outro bits?
Okay. Hi, I'm Belinda. You can find me on Twitter at blood_BTP. You can find me on Monday on... I'm just going to say Taking Initiative. You don't get over to find me on Taking Initiative. You'll find me on Monday on the Lucky Die podcast.
That is Casey.
Actually, I say that. I think it might be the TI crossover episode coming out this Monday.
Really?
Yes, I do. So I think you'll hear me, but I don't think you'll hear the regular cast. I'm pretty sure it's your episode this week.
Well,
because holy shit, that episode. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to be seeing on this weekend. Because I don't think recommend. Well, I can't do recommend tomorrow because I'm busy with family things. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for the week. I think that's me out until I do Couch for It next Friday. So
all right,
I'm done, my man.
I'm Drew Tillman, and you can find me on Twitter at NotThatDrew, which is a great place to find out what I'm doing and when it's going live and all that other nonsense, because I usually tweet it there. You can find me every other Monday on Taking Initiative. You can apparently find me this Monday on The Lucky Die.
I'm fairly certain.
Okay, Valanda thinks, and she's fairly certain, we will find out Monday if it's that episode or not. You can find me every Thursday playing Moonlighter on Twitch here, and every Friday doing Couch for It. And I'll pop up in a dozen other places when you don't expect me to, because I'm like a gremlin.
He's fucking everywhere.
I'm everywhere, and I'm not gonna stop. I am going to be in everything.
Not Drew.
Yes, that sounds terrible. Don't say it like that.
Not Drew.
But thank you for joining us for episode 3. And yes, Undead Man, we definitely should read the next one. If I remember right, the next one deals with some very fucked up things.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a trigger warning at the top of the episode, and we'll try to handle it. It well and avoid grisly details.
Okay. I am no way prepared for what's about to happen. I haven't read the description, so
Well, just read it before you watch. You'll be okay.
No, I'm just gonna watch it and deal with what comes.
Okay, you're just gonna. All right. Well, I
I'll
guess
jump
that's
in
one
then.
way of handling it.
Yep. You never know what life's gonna get thrown at you, so
Yep.
Deal.
You can find me in now roughly 45 minutes doing Talking Initiative. So if you're a fan of Taking Initiative, come listen to us talk
Should
about
be.
episodes 40 and 41 and answer some questions. It's very.
I can't believe you guys are on 41. Holy fuck.
Is it 41? Honestly, I should know what the.
That's like 82 weeks of taking initiative.
Yeah, it's been over
crap.
a year at this point.
Holy crap.
Well over a year. Yeah, episodes 40
boy.
and 41. That's what we're going to be
nice.
talking about tonight.
All right.
All right.
Well, I guess, ladies, guys, have fun.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.